Good evening, everyone. Good evening, councillors and members of the public in the gallery. This meeting will be live streamed via Zoom webinar facilities, and recordings of council meetings or parts thereof cannot be copied, recorded, reproduced, reused or transmitted without the prior written consent of the General Manager. The meeting is being recorded and will be made publicly available on Council's website. Persons attending the meeting should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Council acknowledges that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri, Gundungurra and Darug people, and respects the history and culture of the elders both past and present. Now I'll call on Pastor James Toogood to provide the prayer for tonight.
Dear loving Father and God, Lord, think that you are over all and above all, and you know all, and you know the future, and yet you don't pre-plan what we're going to do. But God, you're with us as we make our plans and decisions. Thank you also that you're with all cultures and all backgrounds and all peoples. And Father, I just pray and ask that tonight you'd be present in the deliberations of the Council. Some things are beyond our control. Some things we are going to make decisions on and plans for, and we have the ability to choose, and you'll let cause and effect follow. Please would you be with us as we wrestle with those things we can control. Give us peace, and please guide the levels of government above us who make decisions that are over us. And dear Lord, I just pray that you'd help us to be faithful to care for the people in our community. Thank you for our Mayor and the councillors who work here, as well as those that come so faithfully and make their decisions. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you. All right, the record of attendance. Deputy Mayor Andrew McKibben has a leave of absence. I have a mover and second for that, please. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Tucker, all in favour? Councillor Watt is trying to join by Zoom, and he hopefully will be up shortly. And there is no one else absent. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest?
I have an item in road naming. There's no non-pecuniary, less than significant, nothing, just attaching a map.
All right. There are no presentations. Questions from the public. The public gallery is open to members of the community. The community is to be given the opportunity to ask questions at the commencement of the council meeting, and the Mayor is to ask 4 questions from the gallery prior to commencement of the ordinary meeting. Members of the public wishing to address council are permitted to do so, provided the following guidelines are adhered to. The person asking the question of the council meeting must clearly state their name and in what capacity they are acting. If the person asking the questions is acting as another person's or organisation's agent, they must advise the council if they have their prior consent or authority. Questions from the public is not an opportunity to debate with elected representatives or staff. It's an opportunity for the community to ask a question in relation to an issue or put a point of view relating to an issue that may be causing interest or concern. Due to time constraints, a time frame of 3 minutes per speaker is allocated. All questions and comments will be directed through the Mayor, and in the instance of the question, if it cannot be answered, it will be taken on notice and a response given within a reasonable period. This is the only opportunity for a community member to address council during an ordinary meeting. Anyone wish to address council or ask a question? Mrs. Walsh.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Vicky Walsh. I'm the owner-operator of the laundry pad in Oberon Street. I supply services, whether it be hiring linen or laundering others' linen, to the Titanium Hotel, Janolan Holiday Park, the Royal Hotel, Taranara and Bridal Clubs, 3 wedding venues, Waldara, Bindo Creek Cabins, Seclusions, Janolan Cabins, Mayfield Gardens and approximately 20 B&Bs. My services are crucial for the tourism sector of Oberon. The past couple of years have been very trying financially and mentally due to the dirty water being an ongoing problem. I've had my business up for sale since November 22, but trying to sell a laundry with dirty water is like selling a pizza shop without a pizza oven. The past couple of months have been extremely busy due to school holidays, race week, Mayfield Gardens, Spring Festival, and also the motorbike festival down at Phillip Island. Last week's clients returned their linen that I'd hired off for race week, and 90% of this linen was brand new. After putting it through my washers, it came out discoloured. Both Councillor Mick McKechnie and Chris Shoemaker saw this firsthand. I'm continually buying new linen to provide to my clients as a large expense, only to be ruined in the first couple of washes. One of my large industrial machines is now out of service due to an inflow sensor failure due to build-up of dirty water. It was with this failure and the continued cost from dirty water, I had no choice but to close my business to the public till this issue was addressed. I was advised that Councillor Mick McKechnie was to be interviewed live on 2BS between 12:30 and 1 p.m. today to discuss these ongoing issues. I was then advised that this interview was cancelled by Mayor Mark Callum. My question to Council is, why was this interview cancelled, and why can't this continuing issue have community input?
I'll answer the last question there. I found out about the interview taking place through your Facebook page, and I didn't know who it was, so I rang 2BS, and they routinely speak to me, and I said, is there a councillor doing this? And they said yes, and I said, well, that's quite unusual, because the media policy for this council, endorsed by the councillors, is that all media comments of a politically sensitive nature are made by the mayor of the day, and in the mayor's absence, such comments can be made by the deputy mayor. Now, I left my conversation with 2BS at that point. I made no reference to the media policy to them. I just said this is unusual. It was 2BS's choice not to go ahead with the interview. It's my intention to talk to 2BS tomorrow and provide an answer from me about what the issues are and what the outcome of the notice of motion is that's on the papers in front of us. Okay, anyone else wish to ask a question? No? Thank you. All right, item 8.1 is the ordinary meeting minutes from the 19th September 2023. Do I move in a second? Councillor Hayden, Councillor Turnbull, Councillor Hayden.
Yes, nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Nothing to add, thank you.
All those in favour? Motion is passed. All right, item 9.1, the mayoral minute. Before I start this, I'd like to recognise the Chris Shoemaker, who was our Technical Services Director, is leaving us early next month, and I'd like to thank Chris for all his work over 9 years, and that's something like 100 or so council meetings, not to mention works committees and all those other things that you've sat through. And I'd like to congratulate you on all the great work you've done around the place, on roads and bridges and other things. And I wish you all the best in your time with Bathurst Council. All right, move a second for the mayoral minute. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to second what you've said there for our director. I did have a query regarding one of the meetings with Tuglow Land Care Group. I was just wondering what that one was about.
I had an invitation for my wife and myself to go down to the Tuglow Land Care Group, and it was a very instructive afternoon. We sat down and had lunch and talked about all the issues down at Tuglow, particularly relating to phones and those sorts of things, but also the Land Care Group is a de facto community group for the Tuglow area. So it was a very interesting day, I have to say, afternoon.
And also the latest with Health Council, how has that been progressing with our MPS services?
All right, we are currently, I think you're aware that the Health Minister sent a letter back to us, back to one of your constituents that you were advocating with. Sent a letter back saying that the Health Minister, Ian Park, had organised that eye contact with the people from Western Area Health Service. I have done that. I've given them 4 separate dates that are appropriate for us anyway, and see what they, which one they come back with. And that will be a meeting with council.
Okay, thank you for
I
that.
haven't had a reply from them.
Yeah, okay, nothing further to add, thank you.
Right. Councillor Trimbar.
Just on the 22nd of September, in a meeting with the Global Generation Australia, and I think there was subsequent correspondence, you thanking them for the update, and their indicated support for a 60-day consultation period. But that council will seek that. Have
We had already applied through the planning minister to make all the state significant development 60 days. So I took the EIS as it came online with only 28 days, to be a resounding no from the planning minister. But we will continue to pressure the bureaucracy on that, because this is the only way we get any movement at all.
So Global Generation Australia's support is worth nothing.
It's worth nothing. Both you and Councillor Hayden and myself have had significant interaction with global power generators from last year. The community consultation down at Black Springs, which was deficient, and then the continued stonewalling of offers to provide community consultation in Oberon. So we know how we stand with them.
Yeah, their community consultation is just lip service.
Absolutely.
Basically. They haven't been to anywhere except Hideaway in Black Springs, never been to town, never been to the villages. It's shameful.
Yes, I concur.
Then on the 9th of October, you had a letter with Damien Pepper seeking an update on the repairs to the Janolan Caves Road. I just wondered if we've had an update on that.
I have, and he's the acting director.
Yeah.
The update was that they should finish the design and contractual work by the end of October, and they expect to start at the end of November, which probably puts the completion date towards the end of May, early June. Now, if you read carefully in the Local Management Committee minutes, the person from Transport for New South Wales says in there, and this is a lower level person, that nothing's going to happen until early New Year. So we'll have another go to try and get a more accurate answer.
At least we're getting answers.
We're getting answers. They're just not consistent.
No. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Shouldn't we on this item write to Chris Minns? He seems to not worry about fooling around with money. Like, the option for us is we don't want to go through another winter down that road, and there's a logical thing to go through the state forest, and I think we should be writing in that option.
That in the response in the LEMC, there is a brief discussion about that particular issue, and the point of view put by the lower level person from Transport for New South Wales was that the forestry road's okay, but the actual dirt road around the back of the school is not all that great, and certainly not good. Is unusable by heavy vehicles. So that was their view, and they'll stick with what they're doing. Now, I understand that the construction period will be difficult. There will be periods of closure for work on culverts, And I think the big culvert is the one at the northern end of the part of the road that's been taken out. And also there's a lot of abseiling has to be done by workers to stabilise the lower slope below the road. But apart from that, I have no schedule. That's it.
The biggest thing is we don't want to have what we had before, where heavy vehicles had to go in through Kelso.
Absolutely.
So when this option is only 3.5 kilometres, and there's, I don't want to see it as a permanent road, but just as a temporary road, it should be put back on the drawing boards. And I think I've got a letter for the same people saying it can't be done. But that can't be done, it's not in some people's vocabulary. But anyway, I think we've got to keep hammering away.
Let's have another go at it. And Councillor will.
I'll bring something back next month.
Bring it back tomorrow if you like, and we'll work through it and send it off.
Okay.
Okay, is that all? All in favour? That's passed. All right, notices of motion. Item 10.1. Review and update of the Morrison Lowe report. And the motion is that a proposal be obtained to conduct a review and update of the Morrison Lowe report, and a report be provided to a future meeting. Councillor Tucker. Seconder. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Most of my commentary in support of it is already printed there, just to add a bit more. I see it as a very mild and a very straightforward motion. It's not proposing to go straight ahead immediately with reviewing the Morrison Lowe report. It's simply proposing we get a proposal including a price to carry out a review. And then once we've got that, we decide at a later date whether we wish to proceed. We do the same thing. We review all of our strategic documents, and I notice we've got one in later on today about the disabled action plan. We do the same with all of our asset management plans. We do it with our workforce plan, and I'm just proposing the same thing with the Morrison Lowe report because it is such a crucial document that sets out our strategy for road construction and maintenance, and that, as we all know, that's by far our biggest activity. I was asked, well, but what's this going to cost? Well, the answer to that is zero, because the motion is only to get a proposal. Once we know what the cost of the review will be, that's when we decide whether to go ahead with it. But as far as I'm concerned, the real cost in our road strategy is if we fail to optimise our strategy. It is very easy to waste hundreds of thousands of dollars if we don't get it right as best we can. And the Morrison Lowe report is crucial in trying to optimise our strategy. Things have changed since it was first produced, and I think it is time for a review. I'm not in any way criticising the Morrison Lowe report, and I never have criticised it. This motion is simply the first step in hopefully reviewing and updating it for today's circumstances.
Councillor McCarthy.
I just endorse what Ian said. There's nothing wrong with reviewing it. I wasn't for the Morrison Lowe report originally, and the council of the day were, and they thought it was a way of coming up with a strategy to build better roads. And yeah, I think it's only an update and a review, so I can't see it hurting anything.
Councillor Trimbar.
I'd like to speak against at this time getting the review done. I think it's just a little bit early. I think probably we could wait at least another year before we do that and understand where we're at, because there's been a lot of things happen. We've had COVID, we've had lots of funding money, and I think you should just let it all settle down. You do compare it to a disability strategy document, and like it's a simple request. Through the chair, I'd just like to ask the general manager, is this a simple request? And there has to be a cost. Everything has a cost, be it internally, but what would be involved here for what is being asked here?
Through the chair, in order to achieve such a thing, like, you'd have to put a scope together and outline what that is, ask what you're trying to review, how you're trying to review it, and for what purpose you're trying to review it. There's definitely time, officer time in preparing that type of document. And then there's the process of going through the in fact, request for quotations process that would otherwise take up more time with the council staff. They would be the unknown costs in order to do that.
Approximately how much time would that take?
Through the chair, I'll probably refer to my engineering colleagues to do that. However, it'd be a document that you couldn't just put together in an hour. It'd take some time to make the professional document.
6 months, a year?
It wouldn't take that long, councillor. It'd be a number of weeks just to make sure we're dealing with what we want to deal with and making sure we've got the right information attached to that request.
Mm-hmm. And what have we implemented on the back of the Morrison Low report today? What are some things we've done?
Through the chair, the Morrison Low report the recommendations from the Morrison Low report have been critical in how we've driven our change culture from our roadworks. The Morrison Low report was a report that was established on the back of a SRV rate review, and council wanted to get an understanding on whether we have achieved value for money as part of that special rate variation. A number of things that come like the way we've introduced the teletracker information, our internal reporting, our contracts and project management policies that have arisen from all this. But it's also given us a fair understanding about what information we need to do when we're preparing reports, so that it's been crucial. Council's been given an update on the 18 recommendations previously by myself, and those things still are relevant today.
Do you agree that giving it time to settle would be a better outcome and reviewing this in a year when all that funding money is not muddying everything?
Through the chair, that's a decision for council. However, Morrison Low was very clear in it was going to take some time to do a number of those conditions because of the amount of grant money that was available at the time, and from the back of droughts and COVIDs and floods. That is still currently in train.
Mm-hmm.
And council will, at some point in the future, need to make a decision as to whether they want to go down the path of an additional maintenance type council program or throw their hand in the ring to be a contract type council that chases these types of projects. But it's clear from the previous review that we're not at that point just yet. But once again, the review is a decision for council to make.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Hayden?
Yes, I don't support this motion. I do think, along the terms of Councillor Trenvith, that we are going to need a period of time for some resettlement of positions, considering our tech services director will be leaving us, and it's going to take a period of time for another one that goes into his place to get on top of the report and everything else that's required. I don't support this at the moment, and I think there could be a possibility of looking at this in 12 months' time down the track.
Councillor Graham?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Seems to me that the recommendations in the Morrison Low report are still valid. Lots of things haven't really changed, so putting it off a bit further might be a good idea.
General Manager, when was the last time council's got an update? In fact, sorry, when was the last time we had an internal review of the status of Morrison Road?
So a review was provided to June's Works Committee, and at that point, a review from our Special Projects engineer was included before that document was provided to council. So an internal desktop has been undertaken, and the comments around what I've mentioned before still were relevant then.
Anyone else wish to speak? Right, a reply?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've just had the point that when that review went to the June Works Committee, the intention was that that council would then decide whether to also refer it to ARIC for an audit. Now, I'm not proposing that happen because I think it should be a bit broader than simply an audit of how we have progressed in implementing it. I would like to see it as a review to update the recommendations if any updates are warranted, and especially to update the figures. I would assume, given that Morrison Low is still a confidential document, that they would be pretty much the only people who could review it, because we can't release it to anybody else. So I would have thought it would be an easy matter to go back to them and say, can you give us a proposal to do this review based on my last 4 dot points in the commentary? And I wouldn't have thought it would be a lot more involved than that. And just on the timing, it was completed in May of 2020, so it was in the process of being prepared in 2019, so 4 years ago from now. If we do decide to go ahead, we're probably talking 6 to 12 months from now anyway, so we're looking at least 4 and getting in up towards 5 years. And that's a pretty standard period for reviewing a document. So I think it's an appropriate time to go ahead now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion is defeated. Councillor McKechnie, Councillor McCarthy and Councillor Tucker voted for, the rest of the councillors against. All right, item 10.2, dirty water issues. And the motion is that Council thoroughly investigate the ongoing dirty water issues being experienced by businesses in the CBD. Engage an independent body to complete the investigation, identify the root causes and remedial actions required. And the costs of investigation and remedial work, if required, may be funded from the water fund. Now, councillors, I'm aware that you will have a document from the confidential part of your papers, and I advise you need to be careful about not mentioning any data or information from there. But apart from that, I'm very, that is the motion before you. So mover and a second, please. Councillor McKechnie, seconder. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor McKechnie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pardon me. We're all fairly well aware of the history of water issues that some of our residents and businesses have been experiencing over the last 3 or so years, and I can see that council always endeavours to supply water that meets the Australian Drinking Water Standards. That's a standard we must meet, and I'm sure council always does their very best to do that. The complaints that we've been receiving over this period of time have been mainly referring to contaminant and discoloration, and the occurrences, they're random in their location, their frequency is relatively high, but there's no noticeable pattern in why they happen or where they're happening. So there needs to be some investigation around it, I think. There have been complaints to council and to several councillors and staff from individual householders and from businesses. Council and directors have been provided with visual and photographic evidence of the problems caused by the poor water quality. The complaints have come from different areas in town that are connected to the town water network. For example, Lye Street, Carrington Avenue, Herborn Street, Oberon Street. Some of the businesses in the CBD that have been affected have been hotels, accommodation providers, small businesses, even some private residences. So we have accepted that the main cause for some of these quality issues has been the low dam levels during the drought, water plant filter replacement, dirty water mains, old water mains, customers and users having old water pipes, etc. They're all valid issues and they're all been addressed recently, but we still have end users getting water in their taps that stain their baths, vanities, linen and white coloured clothing. So the reason for the notice of motion is a request to council to prioritise the investigation to determine the root cause of what this ongoing problem is. I'm not an expert in water science, but I think we need to maybe look at someone in that field or with qualifications in that field to do a report. There could be any number of reasons. We know we've got manganese and iron naturally occurring. We've got a relatively modern water plant. Is it capable of processing the load that's on it now? I don't know. These are all hypothetical things. But I think we need to do this and get a report back outlining what remedial actions or options might be required to eradicate the problem permanently. Because it is an emotional thing in the community, and I sympathise with some of them. I just think we need to put some kind of priority on it and continue with proactive action to try and make a permanent solution, to get a permanent solution. Thank you.
Councillor McCarthy.
I agree with the report of what Councillor McKechnie put forward. The main thing is the way I see it, is it's costing us jobs, and every job in Oberon is important. So until we address this, we pay a lot of money for tourism, but you can't have a tourist come and put the head on a dirty sheet or a dirty pillowcase. So we've got to have a look what's going on here. I take the comment that it could be someone's water main and their old pipes. That's not the case at the laundromat. It's just straight out of the meter to the water supply. Different with other locations, could be the old galvanised water system, but it's costing Oberon jobs, so I think we've really got to look at it, find out how it's happening. Thank you.
Councillor Hope.
I don't have a huge issue with the motion. I would like to repeat, we have spent a considerable amount of money on cleaning these pipes and trying to have clean water supplied to residents, and council is always concerned about water and any issues. I would really like for us as a council to constantly advocate to Water New South Wales and request that they supply us with a better quality water to begin with, so that our system doesn't have to be constantly working as hard as it is to try and then send through better quality water through to the residents, where other people in other communities are getting filtered water sent through to their water supplies where we don't. So that's just one issue that is something that is a huge bother in our community.
Thank you. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to support the motion. First of all, I'll just make a comment, and I'll be careful. I won't refer to any of the information in the confidential attachment, but just to say that I can't see how it fits into that category of advice concerning litigation or would be privileged from production. I couldn't find any information in the attachment that would come under that category. Some of it is commentary about our previous maintenance responses when these dirty water problems have occurred. And it came across to me as very defensive, and it doesn't need to be. No one's disputing or complaining about previous maintenance responses. We know that there's been a lot of work going into that. I think the point of this motion is to try to determine the root cause, as Councillor McGetton said. And if we can determine, and if we can come up with a solution, then we won't need such a heavy maintenance response in the future, because the problems won't occur so much. And we can cut down our maintenance costs at the same time. So I think it is worthwhile to try, at least make an effort to work out where the root causes of these regular problems are coming from.
Thank you. Councillor Graham?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to support the motion. We've spent a lot of time and money on trying to identify it, and yet the dirty water keeps coming back. So probably time to get some outside investigation, some help.
Councillor Trimble?
I'm very sympathetic to the problems that have been experienced. I don't have those problems I have rainwater, so I get beautiful water. I'm just, again, circling back to the previous motion as to the General Manager, what would be involved in this to get this investigated, and is there a solution? I mean, we're trying to make out that if we do this, then there'll be a solution, and there may not be a solution, and how long would it take for an investigation? So for someone like the laundry pad, it's not going to be instant. It could be a long time away, and nothing changes. So do you have any?
Through the chair, we'd have to take that on notice. It's not something I can answer here.
Okay, I'm happy to support the motion. We have done a lot of maintenance work on the water system, and that seemed to fix things for quite a while. The fact that it's coming back and damaging your washing is perplexing, and I think we need to have someone who has got lots of experience in water systems to look at what's happening. So I will support the motion quite happily. Councillor Keating, do you want to write a reply?
I don't think so. I was going to, but
Everyone's agreeing with you.
I'm more than pleased with the support, yes.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Passed unanimously. Councillors and delegates reports. Item 11.1, the Black Springs Community Association meeting of 11 September 2023. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trembath. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, nothing further to add. I think this report speaks for itself, Mr Mayor.
And I'm the same. Great report, thank you.
Anyone wish to comment? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Passed unanimously. 11.2, Opta meeting of the 13th September 2023, and recommendations that Council received and note the Oberon Business and Tourist Association delegates report for the meeting held on the 13th September. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Trembath. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, just the latest report from the Oberon Business and Tourism Association. The report generally speaks for itself, but I think you'll all notice that the consensus around conversation lately lies in electric vehicle charges and tourism currently, so that's all I have to add there, Mr Mayor.
Nothing to add, thank you for the report.
All right, anyone else? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Passed unanimously. Committee reports. Local Emergency Management Committee, the meeting of the 14th of August 2023. The recommendations Council receive and note the minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee held on the 14th of August. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Trembath. Mike, can you have a few different movers and seconders after this, please?
Happy to.
Councillor Hayden.
Yes, nothing further to add. I think the minutes speak for themselves. Thank you.
Nothing to add, thank you.
You might note on the third page of 4, which is page 55, third bottom paragraph, that's where the Transport for New South Wales person gave conflicting information about when the work started. All right. Lauren, all right, anyone else want to speak to that? All in favour? Motion's passed. Traffic Advisory Local Committee, the 14th of August 2023. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the minutes of the Traffic Advisory Committee held on the 14th of August 2023 and note the approved traffic management plan for the Can for Cancer and Oberon Festival events as presented. Mover and seconder, Councillor Tucker. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, obviously I was present at the meeting and the minutes are generally accurate. I did just want to point out one bit of them that might be misleading. On page 63 at the bottom under general business, if you were to read that carefully, it might appear that I was proposing parallel parking, which is absolutely not the case. And I'm assuming that comment probably came about as a result of the recording and then the minutes being prepared from the recording. I can't recall exactly what I said, but I can recall that I did not propose parallel parking. What I did propose was that we review the existing ramps at all of the disabled spaces around the town. And I note that that's also mentioned in the disabled action plan later today, to see if they can be improved to make them compliant with normal standards. And I think there is a way that can be done. If you have a look at the ones down in front of IGA, they're very good. There's virtually no slope on them at all. Whereas others, if someone was to try and go up them in a wheelchair and tip over backwards, we could be in real strife. So I just want to have a look at trying to get them all up to the standard where even if something happens, we can say, yeah, well, it's at least up to standard compliant. That was the point of that comment.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak? All those in favour? Motion's passed unanimously. The Oberon, item 12.3, the Oberon Sports Facility Committee meeting of the 28th of August 2023. The recommendation is Council receive and note the minutes of the Oberon Sports Facilities Committee held on the 16th of August 2023. Councillor Trembath, Councillor McCarthy, Councillor Trembath.
Nothing to add, the report speaks for itself.
Councillor McCarthy.
I'm the same, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is passed unanimously. Item 12.4, the Black Springs Community Hall Committee. Recommendations of Council receive the minutes of the Black Springs Hall Committee held on the 7th September 2023 and note the request for a defibrillator and upgraded first aid kit to be provided for the hall. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trembath. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, the minutes speak for themselves, and I just wanted to say thank you with the directors commenting there that the defibrillator and the first aid kit were actually taken out to the hall and installed, so thank you for organising that.
Just in time for your disco.
That's right.
We will need it.
We might need it.
I've got nothing further to add.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Put the motion. All in favour? Motion is passed unanimously. 12.5, the Community Services Committee. The Council receive and note the minutes from the Community Services Committee held on the 14th September 2023. Councillor Graham and Councillor Trembath. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, interesting discussions on the Disability Inclusion Action Plan and also great interest in the Inclusive Employment Support Plan. The committee was very interested to see those.
Nothing further to add.
Anything else? Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? The motion is passed unanimously.
78, 4.6.
All right. Item 12.6, Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting on the 14th September 2023. The recommendations of Council receive and note the minutes of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 14th September 2023 and note that ARIC supports the Council's decision to continue the recognition of the Red Fleet in the current environment. I'll move it. Saying I was the only one that was there, who was here tonight. Again, Councillor Tucker. This ARIC committee is working pretty well, I reckon. We've got the new independent member, Kylie McRae, is probing in her questions and helpful in her answers to others' questions. And Ron Gillard is also an excellent independent member as well. The issues we went through were, of course, the Red Fleet status, and that's a perennial for all councils, well, whether it's acknowledging them or not acknowledging them on your balance sheet. But we as a small council think that acknowledging them on our balance sheet is a better risk reduction for us, and that the ARIC agreed unanimously. We put in the draft financial statements for the end of the year, and they're accepted by all the people there. Cyber reporting, or cyber problems are high on the agenda of every ARIC in local government, and we talked through a couple of events that happened, which I think everyone's aware of in here, and we came out of it pretty well without any major breaches, and managed to quarantine the problem very quickly. It simply highlights, though, how easy it is for things to go wrong in the cyber area. And the business continuity plan review, and we have presented that to the ARIC for review. There were some comments, but there's always comments about business continuity plans. They're evolving and they have to be flexible. That's all I have to say. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I can't personally vouch for the accuracy of the minutes, but someone has to, and the councillor was there, and I'm the alternate delegate, so I stuck my hand up. So I'm happy to second it. I'm just a very minor correction to recommendation number 2, just a grammatic thing. It says council's decision to continue to recognition. It needs to be either continue to recognise or continue its recognition of one or the other.
Okay, we'll sort that out.
Yeah, and that was all.
Any other councillors wish to speak or comment? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. 1301, report for decision. It's regarding the golden elm tree in Carrington Avenue in Oberon. Recommendation is that council retain the existing golden elm tree located on the council nature strip, as it has been determined by 2 independent arborists to be in good health. Continue to monitor the sewer line and cut any sign of root intrusion from the council sewer main. Re-inspect the existing sewer pipes with CCTV cameras to determine the current condition, free from existing gapping or significant structural damage, and consider long-term internal pipe relining work as part of the 24-25 operational plan. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Tucker. Councillor Graham. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will propose a minor amendment in a moment, which doesn't really alter the sense of the recommendation. But I just
Sorry?
Just procedurally, Councillor Tucker is the mover of this motion, you can't lodge an amendment when you're the mover of the motion. You can ask for consideration additional.
Can I move a different motion then, please?
You can modify that.
You can modify
We
it,
ask for a modification.
but it has to be significantly the same as the one that you moved.
If it's significantly different.
It is not significantly different, that's what I said, it's a minor change.
Well, let's have it and we'll see how it goes.
Do I need to give that change first?
Yes.
Do I? What I'm proposing to change is in number 4, where it says consider longer term internal pipe relining works, that we change that to consider long-term replacement of the sewer main or internal pipe relining works, one or the other. Give 2 options for future action.
So what you're saying is consider the long-term internal pipe relining or sewer replacement.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I'm happy with that small one. Now,
So you-
both you move and second happy?
Second has to be happy with it, yeah.
And you accept that's a minor and that's fine?
Yeah.
Move on. But you've got the second has supported it, so it works.
So my comments are that I'm happy to see the recommendation that we retain the tree, because I think removing it just straight off would be short-sighted. We have an old clay sewer pipe, so that obviously there must be some gaps in it somewhere that have allowed the roots to penetrate. We don't know if for sure if it's this tree that's causing that. I remember the previous report said it could be, or it could be one of 2 other trees. But either way, there are roots getting in. So even if we were to remove this golden elm, we're still going to have to fix the sewer anyway, because there are gaps in it. But if we go ahead and fix the sewer first, then we can keep the tree, because there won't be any gaps remaining for roots to get in. So it's totally sensible to me that we do the sewer first, and if at some point in the future we find that there are health problems or safety problems with the tree, that's the time to worry about the tree, but not to get rid of the sewer infiltration problem that can be fixed by another means. I'm also not convinced that this tree would be a major contributor to leaves in the gutter of the house where the complaints have come from. Everybody gets leaves in their gutters, the wind blows all sorts of ways, but the predominant winds here are westerly, the strong winds, and that would be blowing leaves away from that house, not towards it. Yeah, that's my argument. So I think we should consider both those options, and if any damage was found in the re-inspections in recommendation number 3, then if funds permit, we could go ahead with one of those options, even before 24-25 if necessary.
Councillor Graham?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I would support the recommendation to keep the tree, and I think item 2 and 3 are pretty important. And as Councillor Tucker indicated, once you do that, then you'll see the future of the tree or any of the other trees that are around there. So checking out the pipes is probably the first thing to do.
Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Hayden?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't agree with number 1. Number 2 and 3 are imperatively important, but just so that everyone understands, elm trees actually have a very invasive root system. This tree also is currently 5 metres high. The height for these trees is up to 11 metres high and then 16 metres in breadth. So that down the track is going to cause further issues to further pipes and any infrastructure under the ground. The elm tree roots grow rapidly and they can quickly become invasive if left unchecked. They can also cause significant damage to all the nearby pipes, foundations of homes, road infrastructure, cracking of any curbs, gutters, paths, and they can also rob essential nutrients of any other trees that are in the vicinity of these trees. Not only that, it has been found and proven that elm tree roots will even wrap around PVC pipe and cause it to crack so that they can then intrude into that pipe to get water. So I will probably remain under the impression that that tree will eventually have to be removed down the track anyway, and by digging up and replacing the sewer and cutting the roots away from the piping may actually cause an issue to it. I'm not going to move an amendment or anything to the contrary, because we don't need another incident of what happened last time. We're going to end up calling this the elm tree incident. But anyway, they're my thoughts on this, and that's what I have to add.
Thank you, councillor. Anyone else? I'll just make a point. I support the motions, but if you look at the commentary on page 89, where it talks about the sectional pipe relining work, indicative cost is $43,500. And I think there may be a point where once we've done all of the items in 1, 2 and 3, it might be that we have to make a value judgment of whether one tree is worth $45,000. That's another day. All right, you want to write a reply?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Mayor, just very briefly, it is the other point that I had intended to make when I proposed the change to number 4, that my guess is that replacing the sewer may well be significantly cheaper than that relining. You tend to get a contractor in and do a whole lot.
Let's leave the cost analysis to the engineer.
But it's why I wanted to add the extra option. And
so. Okay, anyone else? Oh, that's required. Sorry, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Councillor Trembath and Councillor Hayden against. Motion is passed. All right, modification of consent. 80 Wilson Drive, Oberon, 2-lot subdivision, mod 10/2021.94.2. The recommendation is that council refuse the application to modify the conditions of consent for DA 10/2021.94.1 by waiving condition 5. Council refuse the application for the following reasons. The modification as proposed would not be substantially the same as the original application. The proposed modification would be inconsistent with section B 12.8 electricity supply of Council's Development Control Plan 2010. The proposed modification is inconsistent with the level of essential services (electricity and telecommunications) intended by the condition of consent for the original application. The conditions of consent imposed are not onerous on the project, on the proponent, and the proposed modification is inconsistent with the commitments made by the proponent in the Statement of Environmental Effects prepared by Integrated Consulting for the original application. And item 3, the provision be called in accordance with section 375A of the Local Government Act of 1993. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Trembath and Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trembath.
I support the recommendation as it stands. I think the one thing that really stood out to me was, and I didn't feel comfortable with amending condition 5 to remove the reference to electricity and including an additional condition requiring registration of the easement for electricity, especially with the reference to vigilant purchaser being alerted to the easement, throws it all on the risk of someone who's purchasing the property, and not everyone is vigilant or has the best legals, conveyancing to ensure that something doesn't go wrong with the purchase. As it's stated, the conditions of consent were put in place, and the modification is inconsistent with the commitments, and that was the proponent agreed to this originally If they were to sell this property with power, they've increased the value of the property. It's not a cost that they're never going to recover. So, I mean, fully support it. And generally I support most things where people are trying to amend our DCPs, as I think people have known from previous council meetings. We have things in place for a reason, and we should continue to make sure that those conditions are kept.
Councillor Hayden?
Yes, I was in two minds about this earlier, but after speaking to the directors and going through certain things, I support the recommendation as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor McCarthy?
So I support what Councillor Trimbar said. If you go and read our DCP, and it says there that electricity is available on the block. And one of the things is what we've seen in the past, that someone goes to sell one of these blocks and then hinders the person of getting power at a reasonable cost across there because they don't want it across their block that they sold. And I spoke to the general manager, and my 88B, we can't do it backwards, so you've got to support what's going ahead here. We set up this DCP years ago that people are aware that you read those things and that utility's on the thing. But having said that, one of the things there we have electricity and communication. Mobile phones has replaced the communication one because we don't make sure that they've got a telephone line on a premises anymore. But anyway, I support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this or against? All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item 13.3. The water filling station, North Street, Oberon. The recommendation is that council approve the replacement of the existing Monaco water filling station with a new Aberfield WD 3000 water filling station and associated equipment estimated at $49,540 ex-GST. Provide funding for the installation of one new water filling station on North Street from Section 64 Urban Water, and in future operational plans provide funding to upgrade the remaining two Monaco water stations located in Black Springs and O'Connell. Moving second, Councillor Hayden. Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I support this recommendation. As you're aware, the model that's currently there is obsolete, so it's going to be hard down the track trying to get parts or upgrade anything. So I support the motion for the recommendation.
Councillor McCarthy.
Yeah, I support it. The only query I have is how long is it going to take to get updated in respect? Can we have something in the interim where people can draw water over on that site, whether it just be an honesty card in respect that on weekends the council depot show? We need to really know that.
Is there a motion?
Through the certainly we can look at options of removing that particular station and putting some sort of functionality there for a draw off. So expected turnaround at this stage is that the company that is involved here with the costing is able to supply. So it's a matter now of discussion of how quickly they can attend to installation. So in reality, if it's available, it could be pretty swift in terms of getting something installed, is what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion. I just have a couple of questions. In relation to it operating with credit and debit cards, I think that's a great idea. For most people, that's going to mean they don't need to bother to come in and buy a special card and come and top it up and that sort of stuff. I'm not clear whether the intention is that it would just operate with credit and debit cards, and therefore we dispense with the ones that people can come in and buy, or whether it's an extra option and we still keep the option of the cards that people buy from it. How will that?
Through the chair, it's an and/or. Certainly, we would still have that option. An option to have, yes, cards with credit placed on them here for those who, for example, water carders, long term.
Yeah, I would have thought they would definitely have credit and debit cards. I think nearly everybody does. I'd be surprised if there's many people, if any, who are going to want to come in and buy the cards, and if we can get rid of them, then it's a bonus. It's a bonus and reduces our own costs. So maybe if we find that there's nobody or hardly anybody coming in and buying cards, maybe we can get rid of them.
Just through the chair, it would be a separate system. So anyone who would like to buy water would need to come in regardless. So we're hopeful that will just be replaced by a credit or debit card, to be honest with you. So
yeah, and that's the point I'm making as well. My second question is just the source of the funds. It says section 64 urban water. I'm not clear what that is. I assume it's some sort of reserve.
that's
is there enough money in that section 64 to cover this, and is there anything else that will miss out in the process?
So through the chair, your section 64 is your developer services plan. So as part of any subdivision, there is a contribution that we can ask for.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have put the recommendation in there if there wasn't enough money in there to do that, and there is no project that would miss out.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Question for you, General Manager. Noting the importance and success of the subsidised water back in 2018 and 19, how are we going to run a scheme like that, noting we're going into a drier period under this system?
Through the chair, probably the functionality would allow you to change the cost of water on the mechanism. However, if council endeavoured down the path of a substantially reduced water component, you could simply pay for the water, bring your receipt into council and work through like a refund type rebate system. So there's opportunity out there to continue to do that without the need for a special card.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is passed unanimously.
Page 131, 134.
Oh, yes. Yeah. All right, 13.4. 13.4, naming of a road in the Bracken Estate, Oberon. Recommendation is the council, in accordance with the New South Wales Geographical Names Board, New South Wales Addressing User Manual, September 2016, is recommended the council endorse the road names for the new bitumen road adjoining Bracken Glen Lane and Bracken Estate. Move in a second, please.
I have a motion. Well, we can't adopt that as is. It says that, so I have a motion, which is that the new bitumen road adjoining Bracken Glen Road being named Manhattan Road.
Sorry,
Manhattan Road.
that's in accordance with what?
It's one of the proposed names.
All right, do you have a seconder? All right. Do you want to speak to it now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I do like the general idea of referring back to the original owners of land or people prominent in that particular location, and this road goes right through the Captain's land, as you can see from the attached map. So I thought that was better than going for one of the names put forward by the developer.
Councillor Hayden?
Yes, I had been going through some maps. This map was from 1876 and 1896. It still had the same Alexander and James McHatton. I don't know who the McHattons are. I haven't done any research on them, so I just thought that was appropriate considering they had owned the land at one time. So I'm very happy that Councillor Tucker has thought to move that, and I will support that.
All right, can you just bring propose to move it up, please? Yeah, sorry, the alternate motion. So that's your proposed amendment?
Yeah, I think it's double T A N.
Yes.
Yes, that's my motion. Thank you.
All right, so I'm moving and second for the amendment. Anyone else wish to speak to it? No, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour?
It's not an amendment.
It's not.
Sorry,
It's a
proposal. I'll motion. Yeah, sorry. Councillor McCarthy.
I'm just not for it, that's all, so.
That's all. I just making sure you were. I just didn't know I just missed your hand. That's all.
That's all.
Okay, the motion is passed. It becomes the motion.
Through the chair.
Yeah, what's the motion?
Motion is the motion.
Okay. Oh, okay, sorry.
Move on.
Done. All right, all done.
Make it easy.
Brain's getting fried already after today.
13, 4,
All right.
34.
All right, 13.5. Dudley and Dart Street extended raised footpath and centre for pedestrian refuges. The recommendation is that council either provide additional funding for the restricted section 711 urban development and road funding to supplement the estimated shortfall of up to $35,000, so $35,300 for the construction of the raised platforms, or not proceed to construct the upgrades at the intersection of Dudley and Dart Street and reconsider the funding during the 24-25 budget deliberations. Now, I've made a couple of slight amendments to the wording there to make it sensible. Now, councillors, we have already endorsed this project by providing money from the town improvement levy, $20,000. So it has been endorsed, and this is a matter of how do we fund it, or do we wish to fund it? So move in a second, please. Councillor Tucker.
I guess I need to say what I'm moving. I'm moving recommendation number 1 with a minor wording change.
Yep.
Instead of raised platform, to change it to intersection improvements.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, may I interrupt council for a moment?
Just let me finish section improvements. Councillor McKibben has joined the meeting.
How to leave the absence?
That's fine. Well, he's now not absent.
Through the chair, it'll simply be in minute when he arrived.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a minor amendment. I think that's fine. Seconder?
There's no second.
No second.
With option 1.
No, it's I4. So thank you for that clarification. I was confused about.
Because it can't be both.
It can't be both.
So, have we got a seconder for option 1? No seconder? Option 1 lapses. Option 2, which is not proceed to construct the upgrades at the intersection of Dudley and Dart Street and reconsider the funding during the 24-25 budget deliberations. Do I have a mover? Councillor McCarthy, and seconder Councillor M. Trimbar. Councillor McCarthy.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I think we need to have a look at this. It's very confusing down there, especially for kids and that, and if they go to the centre island that's down there now. But anyway, I'm happy to have a reconsider.
Okay, councillor Tremblay?
Yes, I don't want to proceed, and we can leave it to next year. I mean, all safety is very important to us, but we seem to be of late making decisions on the basis of some people saying it's a safety issue, but we don't back it up with any numbers, any statistics, speed, crashes. We don't get any expertise, as we've just done, or coming up shortly, is the disability action plan, where we've got real people with real expertise giving us advice. This project, and sorry, Councillor McCarthy, but like Bailey's Lane and Bogga Bogga, that was just your perception of safety, and we proceeded with these projects. And as Councillor Tucker pointed out, the disability ramps, just in general, you're pointing out that they are probably much more important. So I really think we need to prioritise where we spend our money and do it well. And if we want to come back and look at this project, we engage with the school and we engage with the P&C, because currently we've only had one letter regarding this project, and I think it's run away with us. And just throwing more money at one pedestrian crossing, I don't think is exactly where we should be focusing our efforts. There's much more to be done, and in particular with our disability plan, there's a lot more people who could be helped in the community. And I see people in the streets struggling, you know, older people, and we do have older people, trying to get up onto the pavement or just get around. So I think that's why I think we should move it to next year and reconsider it, but keep that in mind that there's other issues that we should be thinking about.
Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Tucker?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to speak against it, as you know, because I wanted to go ahead with it. I would disagree that it's simply on the basis of one letter. Certainly that's what initiated the whole process, but you only have to go down there at school start and finish times, particularly finish times, and there's kids and there's cars and there's school buses, and the potential for serious consequences is quite obvious. And there has been consultation with experts, because that's what the traffic committee is, and that's been unanimous to say, yes, this is worthwhile doing if it makes it easier for pedestrians to cross the road on both sides of the intersection. It clarifies the priority for people coming along Dudley Street, and it provides a traffic calming effect. So I think it is an ideal project, exactly the sort of thing that we should be putting our money to, because there are immediate and tangible benefits to doing so. Just a passing comment, it proposes, or number one had proposed using Section 711 funds. Well, there are some unallocated funds in TI fund that equally could be used for almost exactly the right amount. So that would be another option. But I'm opposed to number two. I think we should go ahead as soon as we can.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Councillor McKegney?
Yes, Mr Mayor, it is quite chaotic down there at times. I haven't driven a school bus for several years. See quite a few near misses, not all attributed to pedestrians, but I think we need to do some further investigation. Have we consulted, or has the Education Department been consulted in this?
The school's been consulted, and I'm not sure what their views were.
But maybe we need to put it off till the next budget period and have some further investigation, because I think there's maybe some alternate pick up and drop off options that probably could improve the situation. That's just my thoughts.
Councillor McKibben?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. look, I don't think we're necessarily saying don't proceed. I just think we need, as Councillor McKechnie said, some further investigation. I think there's probably something needs to be done in the future, but I think we need to adequately budget and look at exactly what is required, because it's obviously there's been some changes that originally went to the Traffic Committee, and we just want to ensure that whatever we put here is going to be best for purpose, and if it is necessary for a safety issue, that we do it correctly. So I think we're just deferring it to carry out further investigations, look at if it's the right alternative, and then we can move forward. But by putting it into next year, we have the opportunity to do that investigation, as Councillor McKechnie said. I'm
of a mind to defer it to next year as well. And I agree with what most of the things that have been said. There is a new daycare centre, preschool, to go behind the current public school. So that'll have what's proposed, and that will have further traffic in that northern side of Dudley Street. So I think we need to understand what the effects of that particular proposal might be before we finalise the what's for us. And I must admit, it took a fair bit of time this afternoon to work through those series of plans to actually understand what was needed, what was proposed. So I think I'm very much in favour of item 2. So, anyone else? Justin?
Just replying to it. Through the chair to the tech director, I mean, I understood that this was supported by TELC. It was not a recommendation by TELC. Is that correct?
The design, in principle, yes, certainly has been reviewed by TELC, and certainly, in their view, it would work.
It would work, but they did not say it was necessary.
No, of course, but in saying that, it's a council decision, of course, in terms of whether they'd like to proceed or not.
Accident history, speed history, anything from the police? Do you have anything on this?
So through the chair, no, I don't have any crash data or safety history on this particular intersection. If you're referring speed or those types of statistics, no. However, you know, obviously the safety around, I think this said one letter was received as one of the instigators of, you know, pursuing a design or a remodelling of the intersection. And certainly this design is, you know, what could be possible for that intersection.
I mean, I'm just reinforcing, it's just, I'm all for safety, it's very important, but we need to have a bit more rigour around when we decide we're going to do projects, and this safety is just pulled out of nowhere with nothing to back it up. So you need to be sort of a little bit more with some numbers and traffic stats, and we've used the right people to support these projects, and not just us sitting around the table going, well, that sounds like a good idea, we should do that. So just want to cover off that.
All right, everyone's said to say, I will put the motion. All those in favour? That is item 2. We not proceed to construct the upgrades at the intersection of Dudley and Dart Streets and reconsider the funding during the 24-25 budget deliberations. Right. I can't see Councillor Watt.
Yeah, he had his hand up.
Did he? Okay. Unanimous. Sorry, stand fast. Councillor Tucker.
14.6, page 142.
Right, Oberon Waste Facility. The recommendation is that Council, 1, undertake a review of the waste gate fees that reflect the true cost of processing and disposing of waste at a residential, business and industrial commercial rate. 2, review the JSR waste document and develop a communications plan along with community consultation that will guide Council's activities and community involvement in evaluating and educating the changing resource recovery legislated space to minimise the impact of waste on residents. And reinstate the 2023-24 fees and charges for tyres, mattresses and lounges and leave all other fees at their 22-23 level until recommendation 1 above has been completed. And 4, recognise the interim period prior to installation of the weighbridge that the residential voucher system continue to operate as it did in 22-23 without tyres, lounges and mattresses being included. Councillor Hayden, Councillor McKibben. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, this is endorsing what we all come to a decision about at our recent waste workshop. We have to be mindful that costs can't be consumed by council on behalf of residents when it can be quite detrimental to our budget. So moving forward, there's going to be quite a few changes regarding waste disposal, and the comms in this is going to be one way to communicate to the community how things are going to be changing moving forward. So I support all 4 recommendations. Thank you.
Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I support all 4 recommendations. Obviously, in looking at recommendation 1, we also already have tables indicating what comparable councils in our immediate vicinity charge for certain things. So in undertaking 1, I'm also assuming that it will come back to council for a decision as to what those fees and charges should be. And we will look at the true cost, and we will look at what other councils charge. I'm assuming that's correct through you, Mr. Mayor, to the General Manager. Yes, General Manager's nodding. Thank you. And I note that I can say that we're considering a weighbridge options in confidential, so it may be an issue that the weighbridge is not as far off as we that far off into the future. So that 4 might go quicker than we hope. So I'm all in favour of these. As Councillor Hayden said, we've spent workshop on this, going all through this and reviewing it, and I think councillors were pretty well unanimous in where we got to. Thank you. I'm more than happy to second this recommendation in 4 parts.
Thank you. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support them as well. I am going to suggest a minor wording change for number 2. If the mover and seconder are happy with it, it doesn't alter the intent of the motion, of motion number 2, but I think it would make it a bit clearer. I find the existing wording quite bureaucratic, and I found it hard to follow exactly what was intended with number 2. So I'll just read it out to see if the mover and seconder are happy with the different wording, rather than necessarily typing it out at the moment. So the wording would be review the JSR waste document and develop a communications and consultation plan that will guide all elements of Council's waste management strategies, given the changing legislative requirements.
Could I ask that that be repeated, Mr. Mayor?
He says,
Look,
yes, it means the same thing, but I just think it's
clear. It is much clearer language, I'll agree.
different, yeah.
So
Doesn't bother me.
so I'll read that again for Councillor McKibben.
Yes, thank you.
Which is review the JSR waste document and develop a communications and consultation plan that will guide all elements of Council's waste management strategies, given the changing legislative requirements.
Can I just add legislative requirements by 2030? That's the drop dead date.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I agree with what you said.
And again, as if the mover and seconder are happy with
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes, I'm happy with that. We don't include the words to minimise the impact of waste on residents. Is that?
I think
that goes without saying.
That wording I think covers off on all the things we're talking about.
All right, I'm happy with it. Yes. Second, I agree with the change of wording. So, have you given it to Sharon?
Yeah.
All right, so that, I assume that'll come up on screen in a moment.
Okay, I just want Councillor Watt seems to want to say something.
I just wanted to speak to it as well, if I may.
So, Councillor Watt, you want to, got something to contribute in a moment?
Just a very brief comment, Mr. Mayor. I found the previous language confusing and completely agree with the clarification that Councillor Tucker suggested.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just, my comment on the motion as a whole is, yeah, obviously I don't have a problem with developing a plan for communications and consultation. And in fact, after the waste workshop, I thought that was what was going to come back to the meeting today, a draft plan for us to discuss and decide if we were happy with it or not, rather than simply what we're doing is deciding that we are going to develop a plan. I thought we would see a draft today. So I'm just interested to know what is the expected timing to come back with a draft plan.
Through the chair, the rationale behind why it didn't come back is that at a waste workshop, we don't make any recommendations, so staff needed a direction in terms of this. We're working on that consultation plan, comms plan now, so I'd expect it to come back to either the next meeting or the one after. It's not a long term. The rationale behind the 4 recommendations are to try and implement those right now that you had a consensus about at the waste workshop, which is the understanding of the mattresses, lounges and tyres, but also recognising that we'll keep the same fees in place. Noting Councillor McKibben's comments around the weighbridge and the likelihood of that, timing around how we do this could fall into those types of comms plans. So that's the rationale behind this.
We need to sort out this wording. So it's a review the JSR waste document and develop a communications and consultation plan that will guide all elements of Council's waste management strategies, given the changing legislative requirements by 2030.
Put Councillor Tucker, if after waste management strategies you put a comma, and then have given the change in legislative requirements by 2030.
Yep, that's fine.
Makes you draw breath.
Through the chair, just a bit of procedure. I know we don't mean this, but if we say review the document, is there not a connotation that I need to bring it back before 2030? I know that's, and you're talking about trying to make the language suit the document.
Legislative requirement that will be in place by 2030. It just to
as long as it used to be.
Well, yeah, but there's no ambiguity now.
And Mr. Mayor, I think it's not implied, but is it implied that this plan has to comply with all current legislation that applies now up to 2030, but noting that between now and 2030 there's going to probably be more legislation, so we can't prepare a plan knowing all the prospective legislation in the future. We have to be a little bit careful in that wording too. I can't see the wording, but we need to be careful of that.
Yeah, Councillor, there is legislation we know about,
yes,
which is 2030, and that's the stuff we're working with what we know about.
Yeah, we have to. All right, so with what we know at today's date, that's fine. I have no problem about that. But they may bring something else in 2027 that we don't have any idea of today. So we just have to be careful.
We will review in 27 if that happens.
it's a moving document.
Can I just say, the whole basis of the communications plan was to have ample time to educate our community on those massive changes that will occur in 2030. Maybe there are other changes that are going to occur, but it's really about, this will be the biggest change that they will have ever seen in this community, and that's why we've given ourselves such a long time to educate them.
So, we're all happy with the new two?
Yes.
I actually can't see it, Mr. Mayor. It hasn't come up. I've got a homepage web page or something.
Take it from us, it's there.
It's there.
Now I can see it.
Now we can't see Councillor McKibben.
I can see part of it.
No.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And it's passed unanimously. Okay. Some good work there. Disability Inclusion Plan, item 13.7. The recommendation is that Council adopt an updated Disability Inclusion Action Plan for 2022-2026. Mover and seconder, Councillor Trembath, Councillor Hayden. Councillor Trembath.
Yes, I would actually support this, and I must say this document is outstanding. Great work. And I really do think it was a submission that you got from the carers group that has been incorporated into, not all of it, but a lot of it. And it's really given us, some really good insights and a very clear roadmap as to the direction we should take. And I liked that we will be engaging with them on an annual basis to keep this up to date. And I think it will be a good addition to our community.
Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I support the recommendation. I think it's a brilliant plan that's been put together, and commend those who did that. Thank you. Nothing further to add.
Anyone else want to speak to this? Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I support this wholeheartedly, but I was interested to see the statistics where it indicates that there are probably 15% of our population that identify as having some type of disability, and percentage of 16.7% who basically 15 plus who are carers. That's, shows how necessary this is.
Yep. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 13.8, Oberon STP construction request for tender. The recommendation is that Council nominate the open tendering method as prescribed in accordance with clause 166A of the Local Government Regulations of 2005 for the construction of a replacement sewage treatment plant. Upon receipt of the detailed design, specifications and tender package, which is anticipated in November 23 and consistent with the final draft layout plan attached to this report. 2, at the conclusion of the tender period, all information will be assessed by the panel and a report will be put in the next available ordinary council meeting seeking endorsement of a suitable provider for the replacement sewage treatment plant. Moving to seconder, Councillor McKibben, Councillor McCarthy. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On information received, I'm happy to proceed in two parts on this recommendation, and let's get our request for tender out and let's see what comes in. I'm assuming, I think I can say this, that we will anticipate that probably tenders will be received in January next year. And I would suggest that if there's a recommendation, and I'm not going into confidential, but if there's a recommendation that we receive and it's between meetings because of the necessity of this project to proceed, that that you might be prepared to call an extraordinary meeting, and I therefore maybe in two suggest a slight amendment to say next available ordinary meeting of council or an extraordinary meeting called or by the mayor or general manager.
Well, if we need to, it's an extraordinary meeting and we will call it.
It just says that it put to the next available ordinary meeting. So that's that was the only wording. Next, yeah.
Like all these things, councillor, if it becomes necessary, it will happen.
Okay, I'm happy on that basis. I just I'd hate us, something come in one day after our meeting and then we don't want to wait a month. All right, on that basis of your assurance, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to go unamended and to on both of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McCarthy.
Enough spoon said.
All right. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support the motion, but noting that the tenders won't be going out for at least another 4 or 5 or 6 weeks yet. I was very surprised after all the discussion we had last week, and when we were told, yep, all the information's coming by Friday, and now we've got another 5 or 6 or 7 week delay. It's pretty disappointing. But I see the information that we got yesterday, talking about timing of calling tenders, and clearly there's no way we were ever going to get a report back to December anyway, just with the time it takes for people to prepare their tenders and for us to assess them. But yeah, I just wanted to record my disappointment at the further delay.
General Manager, you have a comment to make?
Through the chair, the timing has always been that we can get a report back to the December meeting as was indicated to the committee. The options that have been provided for simply allow for a better understanding and negotiation with tenderers should there be non-compliant and changes that we want to make as outlined in the report. I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this motion? All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. All right, reports for information. No recommendations that item 14.1 is received for information. Mover and seconder, Councillor Hayden, Councillor Trembath. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to support the recommendation in that report, and it's a very lengthy report, and that's it.
Nothing further to add.
Anyone else wish to speak to this? No? Well, Councillor McKibben.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering, under land development opportunities, do we have any projected date as to when our liaisons with a prospective purchaser are likely to conclude and a sale will have occurred?
General Manager?
Through the chair, we're moving towards finality as we speak.
Sounds like a black hole.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor McCarthy.
Yes, to the General Manager, on page 178, second dot point down, are we any further advanced on maybe having staff that can do their own inspections of our vehicles? Is that what this training's for?
Through the chair, that's exactly what it's for. It's just need to be refreshed. We've had a change in that area, and we're just looking at onboarding now for a second person.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what this is. Yes.
Is there any anticipation of when we're going to be able to carry these out?
Through the chair, as required, it looks like we're trying to get it done in 2023.
Okay, so January 23.
No, we're in 23 now. So we're still trying to get it this year.
Okay, thank you.
Got any others? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously, I assume. Bruce, I can't see. Okay.
14.2.
Item 14.2, planning and development. Recommendations at item 14.2 is received as information. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Trumbo. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation. I'd just like to thank our Director of Planning for his comprehensive report, and I'm very pleased to see everything's moving ahead with the amenities down at the reef and the off-leash dog park and everything that's been going on leading up to our end of the year events. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Trumbo. Anyone else? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Item 14.3. Monthly activity report for technical services and recommendations at item 14.3 is received as information. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Trumbo. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'd like to move the recommendation and say first up that we're going to be very poorer for not having you around, Chris, and thank you very much for these last couple of years that you've spent with us councillors and given us a great deal of information, and the work that you do is outstanding, so thank you, and I want to get that in there because this will be the last meeting that we'll probably have with you, so thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for always answering and giving us all the information.
You're welcome.
The same as Councillor Hayden, you leave big shoes, and I hope that the next person can fill them and give us as great photos as you do.
You do. Thanks, Councillor Photo.
Thank you for all your hard work, and the same as Councillor Hayden, you always make yourself available for every little question, so thank you.
Great. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to endorse the previous comments and say to Chris, thank you very much for all your work you've done with council. Greatly appreciated in my 2 terms, and I'm sure the Mayor was the same. You've been a stalwart in the technical services area, and we've done a hell of a lot of work with you at the helm in that area, driving all the grants and everything. So thank you very much, and we greatly appreciate all you've done for Oberon. And obviously, we wish you all the best in your future endeavours, even though it is the rival council at Bathurst. So all the best, Chris, and thanks very much.
You noticed the new haircut for going to Bathurst?
Mr. Mayor, I think it'd be appropriate if council would write to the Technical Services Director thanking him for all his work with council. Yeah. And I'd ask other councillors to endorse that.
Yep, that's fine. We can do that.
I know that's not strictly a part of this agenda item, but I think it's appropriate.
Yep.
3 cheers for Chris.
All right. Anyone else wish to speak?
It's just
McCarthy.
on page 189, Bailey's Bridge. I see it's gone over budget 30,000, or fair enough. But what are we going to do to realign it so that semi-trailers can actually use it? I think someone else has brought that to the attention to the director, hasn't they?
Through the chair, you and yourself did raise some initial concerns. Staff have built or altered the road. I think that will cater at this point in time. Other than there could be further discussions perhaps with adjoining landowner, maybe, and or survey perhaps to identify whether that fence is actually in its true locality. So there's a number of things that should be investigated, I would recommend.
Okay, didn't another resident down there raise it with you? And we can't do as you suggested, take it to another farm, because as Councillor Watts will tell you, this biodiversity thing, you can't take your stock on another person's property. Mrs. Bell told me today that...
Sorry, through the chair, not with me personally, so I have to take that on notice, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, your name was mentioned, that they brought it up with you, that was all.
No, wasn't.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Might be biosecurity, not biodiversity.
Biosecurity, yeah.
All right, that's fine. Anyone else? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is passed. Item 14.4, the monthly activity report for corporate services, and the recommendations of 14.4 is received as information. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Tremblay. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation. It's getting exciting now, getting towards the end of October, and there are events pumping out there, and we're all going to be exhausted by the time December hits. So don't forget, everyone, this is Black Springs Back to the 80s Disco, so you all need that this weekend on Saturday. And then the coffee and cars in the Common. I think there's something on every day of a weekend leading right up until Christmas. So this is like absolutely amazing. And for corporate services and the events that are coming up, like this is just outstanding work, and community services and everyone that's put these together. So thank you, and I'm happy to move that recommendation.
Thank you for the report. Seems your team are doing a lot back office, but as well with the event. So it's quite a big mix of things happening for them. So thank you. It looks like a very busy time for them, but everything's coming together. So they're doing a great job. So thank you.
Okay. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say I think the workshop on the town improvement was excellent and run very well. And I attended the Burringer Regional Drought Resilience Planning, which is referenced on page 195, and that was run very well. Could I ask, I think the people are coming back on the 24th of October. Have we got times and dates for that again, or how is that going to be conducted? I may have missed something.
I think you're right. I think it's 2 weeks up. There's a break of 2 weeks coming back, but I don't have times to hand at the moment.
Yeah, through the chair, it's the 24th. I need to confirm the times, Councillor McKibben. We'll share those with the councillors as soon as we can tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Nothing further.
Anyone else? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. 14.5, investments. And the recommendation is that item 14.5 is received as information. Councillor McKibben. Councillor Hayden. Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Investments still are obviously increasing. Interest rates have helped with our investments and our interest return. So that's good. So apart from that, I'm more than happy with the investment report and more than happy to move this recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation, and I'm happy to see that the Reserve Bank have elected to hold the cash rate at 4.18%. Anything further to add?
Still another month to come.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Anyone else wish to comment? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Passed unanimously. All right. Grants update. 14.6, the recommendations of 14.6 is received as information. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Tucker. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation. I'm glad to see that there's still some grants flooding through, and that 1B, that 2.49, is that what we were awarded through the roads minister? That's where part of ours here. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to second it. I have two questions. The first one is following on from what Councillor Hayden just asked about the 2.49 million. I assume this is totally new money. It's not related to the additional pothole patching money we got 6 to 12 months ago. And I'm just interested to know exactly what this money is for, and whether we as council need to decide what we're going to do with the money.
Through the chair, yes, as you indicated, this is new funding. We are yet to receive the deed, so we're still looking, awaiting those inner workings of the guidelines. But it is new funds. The one thing that I would say that we did receive notice of is the repair program that has been paused. So that while this is not replacing it, this is that specific project, that program that we do look at each year has been paused. But this is new funding, and when we get that deed, we'll become the council with the inner workings of how this works and the project allocations going forward.
Right, so at some point, once we've got that information, there'll be a report come back with suggestions of how it might be divvied up into different purposes.
Through the chair, one of the programs that we've currently relied on for a number of years that's been paused may have to contribute to that.
No, I totally understand that, or decide not to go ahead with the project that we would have done under the repair program.
That's right.
Yeah. My second question, or it's really more of a comment on the next page, page 201, the Growing Regional Economies Fund program cancelled. So our sewage treatment plant, I know we weren't seriously expecting that we were going to be successful in both of those $3 million grants. There was always a slim chance that we might, but now we're totally dependent on hoping that we are successful in the federal grant.
Through the chair, noted.
Yeah.
However, the program's been cancelled with a asterisk that said they will be looking at what a potential change could be for that program. So it's a wait and see.
Yeah, but we'll probably be waiting longer than the point where we have to make a decision on our project, I would imagine. That was all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Noting 1B and what it is, and obviously we're going to be dependent on some of that for repairs that where money has otherwise been taken or not renewed. Is there latitude potentially here to do the Arkstone road slip, because it can be argued that it's been caused by severe weather and natural disasters, or at least part of this could be used for that?
Through the chair, we're a little bit hamstrung at this point in time because we haven't got the deed that will outline whether betterment is included in this program. Now, I think council is no doubt aware that the landslip issue, the reason why the issue is because it's on the alignment that it is, and betterment funding is required in order to mitigate that issue. So we'll await the deed and see what is allowed for within that deed, and then we'll come back to council with a list of projects that you can consider.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. I thought that would be the answer.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Councillor Trimble.
Through the chair to the corporate services or the GM. Some time ago, there was some grant money that was becoming available that we looked at potentially for the new sports ground. Has that become available?
Sporting precinct.
Sporting precinct.
Yeah. So through the chair, there is a number of opportunities for that to occur.
Yeah.
I think the next one closes in March of 24.
Right.
And we'll be looking to instigate a project. It's not in there because it's a rolling program, this one, so we'll be looking at that as part of that process.
Okay, any more? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. 14.7, status of resolutions, and the recommendation is that the report to item 14.8. 14.7, hang on. 14.7 is received as information.
I was waiting on the council and given to me too.
I know, I'm just waiting a bit, sorry.
Me too.
Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm more than happy to move this recommendation.
Seconder, please.
I always second this for you.
Councillor Trembath.
Thank you, Councillor Trembath, greatly appreciated. Could you just direct me, General Manager, to where the Abercrombie Road and Campbell's River Road corner is dealt with? Because I couldn't see it. Maybe it's there.
Through the chair, that last month we closed that item because the process had lapsed. So that's why it's not included in this report, because after we include it in the business paper for a month, we remove it from the status item.
But I don't think it was closed in August, was it? And normally,
it was closed in September.
Yes, but it wasn't on the list on September. That was, remember the discussion we had at the last meeting? It wasn't in the list. And so it had never been noted in the board papers or the business papers as closed because it hadn't got there. That was the issue. It wasn't listed in September.
Can I take that on notes?
Yes, and I think, General Manager, you said you'd put it in the October one, noting it was closed and the reasons for closing. That was my question. Sorry, it might have been a misalignment when I said that was what I was actually saying. I realised it was probably closed, but we'd actually never had it closed out because it was missed out of September.
Sure. So just to give some reference to that, that item was closed out, and I note, and I'll look at amending that appropriately. It won't change the closeout, but it's still, I note the concern. There was 2 months to provide information.
Yes.
What I can say is, as of yesterday, some additional information did come into council. However, it was outside the period that council provided. So we'll be replying to the
proponent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Deputy Mayor. That will include his commentary in any of our long-term strategic processes, because it has missed the date as directed by council.
Thank you. That's the only comment I had. Otherwise, it's excellent. Apart from, I think there are a few lines missing, which made it a little harder to read, but everything else was correct, and most things were very well updated in October. So thank you, General Manager and staff.
Councillor Trembath, you got anything to add?
No, more than happy. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything they wish to comment on? Councillor McCarthy.
So the land opposite the skate park, are we out for tender for that now?
Through the chair, as outlined in the report, the statement of environmental effects is complete, and we'll lodge it in the portal this month.
Okay. Are we going to do a local one in the paper as well? Advertising that we're seeking tenders for this?
Through the chair, we're going to lodge the DA.
Okay.
Remembering that council is required to do the same things as anyone would do when it comes to that sort of stuff. So we'll put it out for and lodge it, seek comments, do all the things that we would normally do. But absolutely, subdivisions are notifiable applications under our comms plan. So it will go out in the paper and do those things that we're required to do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Carried unanimously. All right, quarterly budget. 14.8 quarterly budget review statement, 1 July to September 2023. Recommendation is item 14.8 is received as information. Councillor Hayden. Oh, we're not going to have this lapse, are we? Because it's one of the seconder. Councillor Trembath. Councillor Hayden.
Yes, I'm happy to move the recommendation. Paul's always sitting there waiting for this to come up so that she can answer some questions. I don't have any. And I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Councillor
Thank you for the report.
And thank you, Zoe, as always. You're our star, and I don't have any questions either.
However, councillor Tucker does. Councillor Tucker.
And councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm not sure if it's a question or a request, and the same as I have raised previously. And it relates to page 233, which is the list of capital works. So we have the list and we have the project cost for each of those projects. We have a number of columns showing the funding sources that make up the budget. And then we have 4 more columns that are labelled expenditure. So that's not expenditure in the sense of that's how much we have spent to date. That is what we anticipate will be spent on salaries and materials and plant hire and contractor. I've got that correct, which is why on every line all of the expenditure figures all add up to the project cost the same as the funding figures do. I don't think we as council need to see the split up of how we think that expenditure will happen. I think that's an internal matter as to how much goes to each of those particular ways of spending money. But what I'd like to ask again is, once each quarter, when we get this report, couldn't we just have a column showing the expenditure to date for each project? Seems to me a very simple matter. Only every 3 months. It would not take long to look up the computer and get the latest expenditure figures and just provide that column.
Through the chair, councillor Tucker, yeah, I mean, I know we've had this commentary before, and I think there is some capability in our new system, correct, to be able to do this, but with a lot of these projects, there is more context and work involved in doing that with, and also expenditure may not be the best reflection of the progression of that particular project. But there is.
I've always totally understood it, what you're saying, but it does just provide that opportunity. If something looks a bit obscure, we can ask the question. That's always been the point. And if the answer is, yeah, well, this doesn't represent the true state of progress, that's fine. But at least we've got something that on the odd occasion when there's something looks a bit odd, we can ask that question and get the answer.
Equally, councillor, if something's odd, we report it to council. That's where you would find the true oddness of those requests.
Yeah, but it might look odd to us. You might know the answer, but we want to know the answer. That's why I have asked for and why I'm asking again to just get once a quarter an expenditure figure.
No, we'll bring a report back. We'll bring something back. No.
That was all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor McKibben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Page 234. I think, and I'll be corrected, the Technical Services Director indicated that the beautification street tree planting probably would not occur. I think it was nearly this year and may be folded into next year. So will that be treated as that 71,213 be treated as a reserve, or and flow into 24, 25? How has the Technical Services Director discussed that with you, Zoe?
We have put it into the 23-24 budget in the instance that it would occur this year. However, if it does get moved into next year, it will be restricted and moved through as a carry forward. Yeah. At last conversations with the Technical Services Director, there was a possibility of it occurring. So we put it in to save face if it did, but if it appears it will not, then we will move it out of this year's budget by quarter QBR 3 and move it into the following financial year.
And if I could, Mr. Mayor, the water fund loan, if we received approval in August, wouldn't that have then allowed us to transfer that before the 30th of September, or is that not the case? Page
Through the
226 and the water fund.
Through the chair, it did occur in August, and we adjusted the QBR to assist us in reflecting that one.
Okay, so it is in the QBR for up to the 30th of September. I just didn't see it. Yep.
Yeah. It does collapse in the general when the consolidated, it does collapse down on against one another. But if you look at the general fund with general waste and TI together, and then if you look at the water fund independently, you'll see the movements between the funds.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
And anyone else? Councillor McCarthy.
It's just the on page 234, the fourth one from the bottom, the Earth Rock Wall, retaining wall. Does the money still sit there, or is it gone? The $232,900 and something dollars?
No, it sits there.
It still sits there.
So, yeah, through the chair, anything that's not in the TI that's not expended on those projects will be carried over into the next. Yeah.
Okay, so due to the information the director give us, we need to do something else to go forward with that now. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. That's all. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. All right, there's no urgent business. In accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation of 2005, in the opinion of the General Manager, the following businesses of a kind as referred to in section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a part of the meeting closed to the media and the public. I move and second to go into confidential. Councillor Hayden, Councillor Trimbath, all in favour? All right.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Congratulations on such an early night.
Sometimes it works. All right, can you stop recording, please? During the time we were in closed session, there were two resolutions made. The first one is item 16.2, Oberon waste, correction, item 16.2, sorry, item 16.1, T 2023/12, truck mounted road pavement maintenance machine replacement. And the resolution was that council, in accordance with T 2023/12, proceed with the purchase of a 2024 truck mounted road pavement maintenance machine. Allocate funding during the 2024-25 financial year to offset the additional cost. 3, auction the existing 2014 truck mounted road pavement maintenance machine following delivery of the new 2024 truck mounted road pavement maintenance machine. And 4, delegate authority to the General Manager to sign documents and authorise payments in relation to the procurement of the new truck mounted road pavement maintenance machine. Item 16.2, the Oberon Waste Facility Weighbridge. The resolution that was made was that Council endorsed the submission provided by New Waste Services Proprietary Limited as the weighbridge of choice for the Oberon Waste Facility. Funding be made available from the Waste Fund per the 2023-24 operational plan for the supply, delivery and installation of the new infrastructure as outlined in this report, and delegate authority to the General Manager to sign documents for the procurement of the weighbridge infrastructure. During these deliberations, no one from the public was online or in the council chambers. That brings us to the end of this meeting. Next meeting will be on the 21st of November 2023 in the council chambers, 137 Oberon Street at 5:30 p.m. Thank you, councillors, and thank you for those who were attending online and in the gallery. Bruce.
Bruce.
Night, Bruce.
How's the shoulder, Bruce?